This is Dan Dix here, reporting for Press for Truth. We're here in Acapulco, Mexico at the Anarchapulco 2018 conference, and I am joined right now by the one and only Sir Ed Griffin. Now, you just gave a presentation yesterday, which I had the pleasure of catching, which I thought was fantastic. And I want to get your views on the Red Pill Expo, but before we get into that, can you maybe just generalize, summarize the gist of your talk? You were basically giving solutions for how to deal with this problem that is government. Can you maybe just, in a nutshell, describe what your talk was?
In a nutshell, okay,
yeah.
That's the challenge. How big a nut do I have? Well, yeah, it should be capable of being condensed to a short dissertation. Of course, I'm here at a meeting of a group of people that call themselves anarchists. Well, that sets off the red flag, doesn't it? Anarchy. Well, we don't want anarchy, do we? Well, no, we don't, in terms of what most people think an anarchy is. So I felt it was important to clarify the difference in definitions, what people here think of anarchy and what most people are thinking of what is anarchy. Because until that is cleared up, then they can't talk to each other. Here they both figure that the other guy's crazy, right?
Right.
So that was the real reason, and I realized that in order to develop that theme, I had to talk about this thing, government. Because the anarchists here, what they mean by anarchy is just the absence of government. Well, most people think that government is necessary because who's going to build the roads and protect us from foreign invasion and all these other things, because they are thinking of the functions, that the favorable functions that some governments have. And so I felt it was important to define this word government, because that's where the issue really lies. What is government? Is it something that we need because of certain functions like defense against criminals and foreign invasion, or is it something that we don't need? So that was the starting point. And so how to condense this into this nutshell? I guess the idea I'm trying to convey here is that what is the function of government? Well, the word itself defines it. It's to govern. Oh, how many people want to be governed? Not many. Well, no, but who's going to pay for the, who's going to handle the defense and so forth? Okay, that's one issue. Right. Now we're talking about governing you, controlling your life, telling you what to do, what not to do. It had nothing to do about defense. It's controlling and governing you. So there are two issues here that need to be separated. And that was the mission. So I came up with the idea quite a while ago that we're using the wrong word. Because we can't talk about government as long as we use the word government, because that means to govern. But what about us, who do not want to be governed? What do we want? Well, the answer is we want to be protected.
Right.
The only reason we tolerate government is because it's there to protect us, we think, from criminals, protect us against foreign invasion, protect us against diseases that are rampant and so on, to protect our lives, our liberty, and our property.
Right.
That's the function. And that really is what the United States was built upon. The Constitution was the first experiment in all history in which a state was designed not to govern, but to protect. I think the word that they chose to use was wrong.
Right.
I think one of the very few mistakes our founding fathers made. They were brilliant. But they just picked up the word government from the old world and used it for this new thing they were creating. And they weren't creating a government. They were creating what I think should be called a protectorate. Now, if we start using that word and say, well, okay, the people here at this conference would be all for protectorate, but what they don't want is a government.
Right.
Once that distinction is made, all of a sudden we realize we all have common cause.
Right.
We have common cause.
Right.
And so the rest of my talk is dealt with, can we build a protectorate? And if so, what would be its function? What would be the rules that it would have to follow? And so forth.
Yeah, well, I think using proper language and defining that is absolutely essential and key. And considering that, I mean, isn't it true that government technically is really just a bunch of individuals? It's made up of people. So if we manage to leave government, there's still the issue of dealing with people, because essentially it's mankind. And So I guess my question is does it come down to the individual, the reformation, the fixing of our hearts and our minds, so that we don't form more governments moving forward?
Well, absolutely. Your point is very well taken. If you look up the definition of government in the dictionary, it starts off with a group of people. And we tend to forget that these are nothing but people.
Right.
There is no such thing as a group. That's one of my favorite themes. It's only individuals that really exist. Anyway, yeah, it's a group of people that we've given the authority to do certain things. The legalized use of force. And, well, you can only use legalized use of force for very good things, right? So we always talk about the good things and never think about the legalized use of force. That's a very dangerous thing that you're giving to these people. And so whether we're talking about governments or corporations or institutions or associations, whatever word you want to give it. Mafia. Yeah, if you want to hire the gunslingers to protect your town, you've given them. You put a badge on them now, all of a sudden. You call him a former gunslinger, and he might have been a former thief, but now he's a gunslinger for hire. Oh, now you give him a badge, he's the sheriff. Same guy.
Yeah, right.
All right. These people are dangerous, and just because they're given the title of being the army or the police and they serve us, they're dangerous, no matter whether it's government or not.
Right.
And that, of course, was one of my major themes, too. We need to devise a way of controlling these people. We have to give them force, legalized use of force, but we never must trust them. We must watch them like hawks. And we have to have our own institutions outside of the state to monitor these people and make sure that they don't get out of line. So I talked about that.
Yeah. A healthy distrust within the system, essentially. Now, we have a lot of that here. There's a lot of people here with that healthy distrust of the government, rightly so. But you now are going to be presenting, you've already had the first annual, the second annual is coming up soon. This is another opportunity similar to this, but not so much in the vein of Anarchapulco. You have started something called the Red Pill Expo, and this is something coming up in June. I believe it's going to be happening in Washington State this year. Tell us about why you came up with the idea and what people can expect from the Red Pill Expo.
Okay, well, thank you for that. It's very exciting. The idea behind the Red Pill Expo was to see if we could present so many of these important issues that are involved in our life, things that are taking away our liberties and our privacy. They're forcing us into a rigid, they're forcing us into a totalitarian system. We see that happening every day. If we could present these issues in a more popular way, other than saying, oh, you better be concerned about your freedom and your liberty and all these things that are very serious and very real, but a lot of people just get turned off by that. They say, oh, that sounds too complicated, and I'm too little, or whatever excuse. If we could rephrase that in a more popular way, and we can, using the red pill allegory from the movie The Matrix. You take the red pill and you get rid of the illusion and see it the way it really is. Well, now that's more entertaining, we think, of the movie and so forth. And everything we worry about can be expressed in terms of seeing through the illusion. So we thought we'd give it a try. It was an experiment to see if we could bring some more people in who didn't know that they wanted to get involved.
Right.
Well, we were amazed by the success. We thought there'd be maybe 200 people, maybe 300 people. 600 people showed up in Bozeman, Montana, of all places. Well, it's a beautiful place to go. A lot of people didn't want to go there. And they came from 12 different countries, and they were saying, we want more, we want more. So we were greatly encouraged by that. That's why we're having another one. It's also why we created Red Pill University, which is sort of the expo all year long.
Right.
And that involves, well, we continue the flow of information on the internet, but it also involves establishing campuses in all the local communities around town. That's where political power really comes from the grassroots. We've got boots on the ground now, and we call these campuses. So it's exciting, it's a new idea, and it's working.
Yeah, that is absolutely exciting because, you know, it is very much organized in a pyramidal structure, this system of control, but it is we, the people, who make up the base of this thing. And when enough of us realize that, step out of that system, it will be the beginning of a collapse. You picture a pyramid, you remove the bottom brick, what happens? The whole thing comes crumbling down. And that's why things like Red Pill are so important, to get those people into that bottom block that needs to be removed. So where can people go if they want to get involved? And I know tickets aren't set up just yet. We will have an affiliate code so you can get that, but that'll all come in due time.
Yeah.
But for now, where can people go if they want to learn about it?
Well, for now, our website is already up, redpillexpo.org, redpillexpo.org. And if you want to take a peek at the Red Pill University, that's also it's under development, but it's there, redpilluniversity.org.
Yeah.
And so that's where you go to get an idea. As our speakers are being added, and it's going to be a magnificent group of speakers. I hate to just be vague about that, but we don't actually have commitments. We've talked to a lot of people, and they say, yeah, that sounds good.
Yeah.
But just take a look at what we did last year. I mean, people like Robert Kiyosaki, Lord Monckton, and Richard Gates, and myself and others. You know, that was a loaded program. It's going to be even more so this year. But by all means, come back and get the information from you as it develops, because you'll have the very latest updates.
Absolutely, guys. Stay tuned. We will have the links as soon as we get them. And I've got big hopes for Red Pill Expo this year. I'm certainly going to be there, and I look forward to seeing you, sir. Thank you once again.
All right. Thank you very much. Thanks for inviting me.